Right now on KGW News, he went to dance to music and ended up dodging bullets.
As he was shooting at me, there's bullets whizzing by me.
New details on the suspect as a survivor of the Gorge amphitheater shooting describes how he escaped. Plus,
our crews are working around the clock.
Lost in the North Atlantic with time and oxygen running out. Why there are new signs of hope when it comes to this tiny sub. Rescue teams could still find survivors. And later, how can AI direct your call? Hello?
In a few words, please tell me why you are calling.
As we meet the voice, officials in Multnomah County hope will improve service. All right, let's get right to breaking news out of the North Atlantic tonight, where in just the last hour, the Coast Guard said a Canadian plane searching for a missing submersible detected underwater noises in the search area. Remember, this vessel was descending to explore the wreckage of the Titanic some 400 miles off Newfoundland on Sunday when it suddenly went missing. With just an estimated 27 hours of oxygen left on board, the Coast Guard says it is now trying to find the source of those noises. Now, earlier tonight, both CNN and Rolling Stone reported an internal U.S. government memo citing that search crews had heard what they describe as banging sounds every half hour while searching on Tuesday. No word if that's the same phenomenon detected by that search plane. The company that runs the expedition, by the way, is based in the Seattle area. Kristen Goodwillie with our sister station there filed this report and heard from a previous sub passenger before we got this latest update.
Exploring the depths of one of the most famous shipwrecks.
It's a remarkable adventure, really.
Colin Taylor saw the Titanic in OceanGate's 2022 mission.
You're really pushing to the limits of what people are capable of doing.
This mission, so different. Every hour counts as an international search effort spans 10,000 square miles.
All of our efforts are focused on finding the sub.
The OceanGate submersible, named the Titan, was last seen Sunday, carrying 5 people, including Seattle-based CEO Stockton Rush. Air and underwater searches have yielded no sign of the vessel. Today, 2 ROVs were added to the search.
They have rendezvoused with the vessel Polar Prince and commenced an ROV dive at the last known of the position of the Titan and the approximate position of the Titanic wreck.
Many private vessels are now making their way to the Massachusetts coast to help in this search. The Navy is now sending down a portable ship lift system to try and help with the rescue mission. It's designed to lift up to 60,000 pounds in the deep ocean.
Our crews are working around the clock to ensure that we are doing everything possible to locate the Titan and the 5 crew members.
In a statement, the University of Washington's Applied Physics Laboratory said it provided engineering services to OceanGate from 2013 to 2020, and that the laboratory was not involved in the design, engineering, or testing of the Titan submersible used in this expedition. Taylor says being in the sub is often dark and cold.
But the ship itself will get cold. The ambient temperature there is below freezing.
He, along with everyone else, hoping for an optimistic outcome.
Obviously very concerned for the people involved.
That's Kristen Goodwillie with King 5. Those ROVs, the remote operated vehicles she mentioned, the Coast Guard says they have been moved to search for those sounds we're telling you about. For perspective, here is what they are dealing with. The ocean floor, if that is where the sub is some 13,000 feet below the surface. That is nearly 1,300 feet deeper than Mount Hood stands tall. Here's to hoping. We're going to keep you posted. Back in the Northwest, we have several updates tonight on the shooting over the weekend at a music festival in the Gorge. First, we have learned the 2 women killed were from Seattle and were engaged to be married. 26-year-old Jocelyn Ruiz and her fiance Brandy Escamilla were shot during the Beyond Wonderland Festival at the Gorge Amphitheater. Ruiz's family shared these pictures of her tonight. According to the family's lawyer, the 2 women did not know the shooter. He says they were killed when, as nurses, they stepped in to try and help a domestic violence victim. Now, another victim, this man, August Morningstar, a concert goer from Eugene, survived the shooting. He said he was leaving his tent Saturday night at the campground to walk to the stages when he heard what he thought were fireworks, and that is when he came face to face with the shooter.
A guy popped behind the tent and points his gun at me. He shoots me once. And then the moment he shot me, survival instincts kicked in, and I jumped behind one of my friend's tents And then I ran, and he chased me and was shooting at me. And as he was shooting at me, there's bullets whizzing by me.
Wow. Morningstar was shot once in the shoulder. He is awaiting surgery tonight. The Grant County Sheriff's Office also identified the suspected shooter. They've named him as 26-year-old James Kelly, who was stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord. He is in jail and has not been formally charged. He was also treated for a gunshot wound. Still a lot of unanswered questions this evening. We're going to keep following the case closely and update you as new details emerge. Well, new tonight, a mother's plea for help after her son Dominic Sawyer became Portland's latest homicide victim. Catherine Cook talked to her about the life, including 3 children he left behind.
He was a dad. He was a good kid.
It's been 10 days since police say 29-year-old Dominic Sawyer was murdered. It happened just before 2 a.m. on Saturday, June 10th, at Southwest 3rd and Harvey Milk. 2 other victims survived. Dominic's mother, Cherish, says her son was sitting in his car when it happened. She's desperate for answers and wants police to find his killer.
You know, somebody saw the shooter. Somebody did. I want to see the person that killed my son and look them in the eyes and let them know what they took from hundreds of people.
That includes the 3 young children Dominic left behind. Cherish asked that we not show her face. She just picked up her son's ashes and cradled them in her lap as she talked with us and shared these photos.
One thing about my son, whether you knew him a minute or you knew him his whole 29 years, there's something you will always remember about him. He loved to love. And that was his purpose in life, was to love people and make them laugh.
Dominic's death marks the latest in a growing list of homicides in Portland this year, now up to 37. As investigators navigate urban and suburban landscapes rife with violent crime, Cherish says the pain she feels spills over for future victims. She wants it all to end.
Somebody needs to do something to change it, or there's going to be more Dominics sitting in their car and dead.
Anyone with information on this case is asked to contact Portland Police. We've posted more specific information, including the detectives handling this case and how to reach them on KGW.com. David.
Somebody knows something. Thank you, Catherine. Let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now. The man accused of shooting and killing 4 people at a home in Kellogg, Idaho, east of Coeur d'Alene on Sunday, has now appeared in court. Prosecutors say 31-year-old Major John Kaler broke into his neighbor's house and shot the people living there, including a minor. Apparently, there had been some sort of conflict between the 2 families. A week before the shooting, Kaler's family called police to say one of the men living next door had exposed himself to Kaler's young daughters who were playing outside. That 18-year-old was one of the 4 victims. Authorities have not confirmed the motive for the shooting. Hunter Biden has reached a plea agreement with federal prosecutors over misdemeanor charges for failing to pay his taxes in 2017 and 2018. A separate gun possession charge will likely be dismissed if he meets certain conditions. Now, this deal is not sitting well with some Republicans who are calling it a sweetheart deal for the president's son. The U.S. Attorney's Office telling NBC News the investigation here is ongoing. At this point, Hunter Biden is not expected to spend any time behind bars. And as Providence nurses hit the picket lines for a second day, the hospital actually resumed some services. The NICU has reopened at Providence Portland, and labor and delivery is back at Providence Seaside. Nearly 2,000 nurses from Providence Portland, Providence Seaside, and Providence Home Health and Hospice walked off the job on Monday morning. They are demanding, among other things, higher wages and better health care. Now, during this week-long strike, Providence brought in replacement nurses to help. All right, we've got an update on Portland's efforts to create more sanctioned space for homeless campers. The first mass encampment is set to open next month in Southeast Portland, and today we got a look at the progress. It is in a spot called the Clinton Triangle, set kind of between train tracks and Powell Boulevard, and it's set to house up to 150 people. And neighbors told us they have ongoing concerns with this site, including the potential for vandalism, crime, and even the well-being of those who will be staying there. So for the past 2 months, surrounding neighborhood groups have been meeting with the city to create what is called a good neighbor agreement.
We are really aware that we're on the tip of the spear with this. We are going to be setting a precedent for how these agreements are put together.
Well, that was the chair of the Brooklyn Action Corps Neighborhood Association. He hopes to set an example for future sites on how they fit into surrounding neighborhoods, and that is because the mayor is hoping to open 5 more, with his office saying it is close to finalizing the next 2 locations. This first site, by the way, set to open just as citywide daytime bans on camping go into effect. In Salem, with the Republican walkout over and senators back to work, a whole slew of bills are now moving forward, and one that just passed today would cap rent hikes. Senate Bill 611 puts a 10% limit on rent increases. It was the priority of the BIPOC caucus, as rising rent and evictions often have a disproportionate impact on Black and brown Oregonians. That bill now heads to the House. Meanwhile, another bill is getting a lot of attention, and it's looking into the possibility of decriminalizing prostitution in Oregon. The bill, which is in committee right now, would not change the law just yet. It only directs the Criminal Justice Commission to study the impact of such a change. From there, they would have to create a report by late 2024 for lawmakers to consider.